This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand, 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
Hi there, and welcome to Side Quest, the in-between adventures podcast the authors and dragons crew do when we are in between adventures. Sometimes we have a fascinating guest, sometimes we have a timely topic, sometimes just get angry about TV and shit. Guess which one today is? But before we get into what TV we're angry about and shit, who do we have with us today? It's myself, Steve Wemmerell, Rick Walteri, and Robert Bevan, and special guest, you may know her from the Calamity Janes podcast, Misty Massey, who plays Malibu, who's the upbeat, sunshiny one in the Janes, which we're probably going to need for reasons that should be obvious from my opening sentence. How you doing, Misty?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Angry.
Okay.
Angry.
It's a good week to be bitter.
Bitter is fun.
Angry, bitter, slightly drunk.
So, the usual.
Yeah, it's a standard side quest
Okay.
Thursday Eve.
Awesome.
What are we bitter about?
That's a good question, Rick. What are we bitter about this week? It's too early for Halloween. It's too late for summer. Why not get angry about something? Unnecessarily, perhaps. It's been a couple of months of revelations about... Actually, was Revelations a pun there? It may have been. There's a new Matrix movie coming out. There's a new Indiana Jones movie coming out. There's a new James Bond movie coming out. There's a new Ghostbusters movie coming out. There's a new Star Trek Picard season. There's a lot of people who don't have new ideas releasing exciting things. And I want to plumb the depths of how we feel about that. So I thought we'd do a little side quest on sequels and remakes, be they unnecessary or exciting or filling us with unreasonable rage. And I've got to be honest, what kicked me off for this topic particularly was the dropping of the new Picard trailer for Picard Season 2. Now, I don't know if anyone listening to this is a Star Trek fan or the Next Generation fan in particular, or watched Picard 1. Maybe you watched Picard Season 1. Maybe you enjoyed it. I don't know. Maybe you like to murder dogs. I don't know. Does anybody have an opinion on the trailer for Picard Season 2?
It was self-defense.
Not on the dog murder. That's a different podcast.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show.
Are you talking Season 1 or the trailer of Season 2?
Well, I don't know. I think your opinion on the Season 2 trailer will probably give a little bit of a hint to your opinion on what Season 1 did for you. So let's just talk about the trailer. Any strong feelings on it?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
I am really irritated because I don't like time travel that's just flung around. Oh, look, we must go back in time and fix something. You can't go back in time and fix something because the minute you go back, you've changed something else. And it makes me crazy. And so, of course, they're having to go back in time and fix something. And when are they going back in time to? They're going back in time to right the hell now. Like, who cares? Who wants to watch Star Trek that's happening in 2021?
I'll tell you who cares, Misty, the people controlling the budget of the TV show. They care.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Like, you know, spaceships are expensive, but you know what's not expensive? Filming a car on the road.
Star Trek Picard Season 2, filmed at Dave's house.
It'll be worth it if they bring COVID to the future.
Yeah, I mean, if Picard gets COVID and brings it back to this awful alternate Star Trek reality, not such a bad thing, maybe.
No,
but
it'll be a beautiful reality where they haven't had diseases in 400 years, and now they're totally unprepared for it.
And not a one of them in that trailer was wearing a mask.
That's true. Not as well, maybe they were going back to, I don't know. Maybe they're going back to like 2010, where they could still make edgy jokes. Maybe Picard's going to
look at you primitive 21st century Earthlings, all thinking that you're bank robbers.
And I don't know that I heard anybody in the trailer call anybody else a double dumbass. How can you do Star Trek time travel and not have somebody call somebody else a double dumbass?
I'm sure they'll get round to it. I mean, I hope so. I mean, actually, with current Star Trek, you wouldn't need time travel to do that. They probably that's probably just what they call number one now. Maybe that's just the official rank of them. I don't know.
Worse
I
for me.
Strong feelings about the direction that Star Trek is going. But it's funny you should mention the time travel, because that was one of the infuriating things about the trailer for me, was like, we've traveled back in time, and we've only got 3 days before the future is changed irrevocably. Well, have you? Make up your mind, you time traveling fucks.
Right?
Either you can change time or you can't. Pick one.
Exactly.
Yeah, and why do you have 3 days? Is time like cement or something that has to like set?
I mean, Back to the Future has the loosest time travel rules there ever were, But even they were kind of like, we've got 3 days to change everything, unless we go back and tell you that you've got 3.5 days to change everything, and then we can fudge it a little.
Well,
bit.
no, even Marty said, "What the hell am I thinking? I've got a time machine."
Exactly.
Right.
Even Marty, who barely understands what's going on.
Yeah, it's like the conundrum of like if you meet a genie and he only gives you 3 wishes, and be like, well, fine, I wish for 100 more wishes.
Well, and that was one of the beautiful things about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, is these are two people who don't have a brain cell between them to rub together, and yet they figured out that any problem they ran into, well, we've got a time machine, we'll just fix it later, and ta-da!
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is his fucking Picard. He's been traveling in space and having space adventures. He's traveled through time before. And he's like, we've only got 3 days to work this out. Like, have you? Fucking Bill and Ted work this out, Picard. Come on.
Well, that's not the only thing about it that's angering. Is apparently they have no new stories to tell, so they're going back and basically saying, well, we're going to do an alternate timeline in which Star Trek is pretty much the same as the mirror universe that Discovery spent way too much time in.
No.
But it's actually going to be our universe. And it's like, why? We've already gone to that well so many fucking times. You know what would make that well fresh?
Poison.
And they're not gonna do it. No. What would make that well fresh is shut the fuck up. I'm gonna tell you what.
Tell us.
They go to this alternate universe. Picard remembers who he is, but he realizes that, wait a second, I'm like Emperor here. This is awesome. So I'm gonna stop anybody who's trying to change it back.
There you go.
That right there would win me over in a second. Picard just going straight up Bond villain and saying, fuck this noise. I actually like being in charge of the Galactic Empire, but they're not going to do that. No, instead it's going to be a half a season of, everything is evil, we must turn it good. Oh, now we're back in the 21st century because of budgetary reasons, so we're just going to drive Ford Fiestas for the rest of the time.
You know what I reckon? Because you said that it's like, we've been to the, what if Starfleet was a totalitarian nightmare? Well, with the mirror universe in Discovery, but even before they went to the mirror universe in Discovery, I was like, oh God, I don't want this future for anyone. Everyone's fucking awful here. They're just all smug and acerbic, and then with a snap of a finger, they're suddenly crying rage tears. I don't want these people in the, the future equivalent of nuclear submarines. Who does? So maybe it's like Picard wakes up, so Q changed time, so I'm the ultimate ruler of everything. Okay, time to make some changes. Maybe I can get the TNG universe back.
Right.
Like, the first thing I'm going to do is have Riker executed because fuck that guy.
Stealing all the horny. That's Picard's horny.
Yeah, like the first thing he's like, bring me Dr. Crusher in a slave Leia bikini.
Oh, I was trying to get it back to the good and pure Star Trek universe. Right? We're taking this into a very...
It was a good attempt, Steve. It really was.
We're taking this into the fanfic mirror universe.
That's the only way I'm going to enjoy it, because we know the plot, how the plot is going to be, is Q changes the world, and and a few people remember it. They spend a couple episodes convincing others, so they get the team back together, and then they try to fix it. No, I want to see Picard just basically be like, I like this shit. I want him to see, want him to go Fender from from the movie Cyborg and be like, I like this world. That's what I want to see. That's what would make it interesting for me. Otherwise, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's just the same old thing. It gets tiresome when it's the same old thing. And most of us have been fans of science fiction, of Star Trek and Star Wars and science fiction in general, long enough to know when we see the same old thing.
Yeah, and I have my feelings about the direction that Star Trek's going in. Everyone's like, oh yeah, it needs to be refreshed for a new generation. Does it? It was doing pretty well for a long time there by not having everyone being acerbic dickweed solving their problems of explosions and ultraviolence and sarcasm. So maybe do that again, but that's clearly not going to happen. I'm going to tell you what, for me, encapsulated everything wrong about not only just this trailer, but everything people have tried to remake recently, was when Picard was talking to Q, and Q's like, oh, I'm going to get up to my old Q business again. And Picard says, Q, I am way too old for this bullshit. I'm like, all right, he said bullshit, which wouldn't have happened in TNG because it was a family show. But I can believe Picard saying bullshit. You know what I can't believe? Him saying, I am way too old. No, he would say, I am far too old for this bull excrement, Q. Because that's how Picard would talk.
True.
And it's just such a basic, fundamental thing that they sacrificed to have the trailer pop a little bit more. And that just fills me with the need to spit at someone.
You almost get the impression that, between more Picard than Discovery, but also a little bit Discovery, that it's like they put the current outside of Lower Decks, which is an awesome show, but they put this current generation of Star Trek in the hands of somebody who seems to hate Star Trek.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want this side quest to be about, is the discussion between, because we all hate gatekeepers, and but on the flip side, we all hate soulless corporate remakes. So, who wins? Let's talk about some of the franchises we enjoy, some of the things that are hurtling towards us, and who's right? The basement-dwelling troll fanboys who have never had sex, or, whatever corporate probable sex offender is writing the remakes of them, of the shows they like.
I will just point out, I have been spending an awful lot of time in my basement lately, but I have had sex, allegedly.
Rick, me too, definitely.
In the basement?
Obviously, Misty.
Where else are you going to do it?
That's where the bodies are.
Oh, no.
I told you I'm from the land of what's a basement anyway.
It's probably a
I
much
live
healthier
in a world where we don't have one. Our water table's too high, so our basements are just underground swimming pools that we didn't want.
That's already much cooler than a basement.
Yeah, I mean, your basements are underground swimming pools. Ours are pretty much just shallow graves. It's all the same.
Same thing. Swimming pool, shallow grave.
You fill them both with lime. It all works the same. Or quick lime.
Well, that's why so many old southern churches, the graves are above ground. Because you put them in the ground, they get all gooey and wet and start floating back up in the mud.
Oh.
But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, but
in a sense, yeah, it is, because when the Matrix comes back after 20 years, Is it not like, the corpse is gooey and just floating back up to the
You
surface?
should have buried
Yeah,
that shit in solid ground.
I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the theater. I haven't been to the theater in 2 years now, but I'm gonna go to the theater when The Matrix comes out. But I'm not holding out a lot of hope.
Oh, you
I'm
see,
gonna go anyway.
you know what? The trailer for the new Matrix movie didn't offend me in any way.
No.
Like Picard, the trailer for Picard offended me because I thought it was antithetical and tonally alien to what Star Trek was for a long time. And like the difference between the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, for example, or Voyager, there are differences, but nowhere near as like massive tonal shifts as the difference between, say, Voyager and Discovery, or Picard in TNG and Picard in what Picard is supposed to be. It's just somebody's made a real solid choice to just shit on what the original was and then said, who cares about them fanboys in their flooded basements? But I don't know if I didn't get that vibe from the new Matrix at all. I mean, I'm a little bit dubious about people's soft rebooting things. There's always a kind of clearly somebody maybe didn't plan their taxes properly, and this is what we're getting now. But the trailer at least looked interesting. But then again, I'm one of those people who thinks of the first 3 Matrix films, there is one very good, fantastic Matrix film, and then there
Amen.
are just
Yeah.
some fillers.
Yeah, no, I didn't get. I definitely did not get contempt from the new Matrix trailer. But what worries me is, I got a hefty dose of potentially lazy ass writing, because I'm gonna just say right now, I cannot stand the trope of, okay, the characters went through all this shit, blah blah blah. It's years later. Oh, and everybody magically doesn't remember, and now we have to spend half the movie remembering the things that we, the audience, all fucking remember and don't need a recap on.
Yeah.
Right. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I'm feeling that way, and then there's a part of me that's saying, but the first movie was so amazing and it meant so much to me that I am willing to say, even though I can't fathom what it might be, that the writers somehow have an explanation that is not just done and tropey and terrible.
Yeah, if the explanation is good and it's relatively quick, like, once again, I don't want to spend an hour and a half of watching Keanu Reeves, like, basically Neo looking like John Wick and walking around going, I don't believe the Matrix is real. I don't want that. Like, you're right. Give me a good explanation and make it quick. Like, when the first half an hour have it be like, oh, okay, now we're back into this, and now the real story can begin. Then I'll be okay.
Yeah, I do kind of wish they'd cut his hair, because he does look very John Wick.
I think that's just what he's rocking now. I don't think he's going to give up
is.
that look. I mean, it's a cool look, and it's fine because time has passed. And I don't know. I think everything was built to a kind of very sort of disappointing anticlimactic conclusion in 3, but it was built within the lore that there were various iterations of the chosen one, I guess, program cycle.
True.
So I guess that there's excuse within the lore for things to have been suppressed in the Matrix world. But here's the thing about the entire Matrix concept. There is wonderful sci-fi, and it was such a groundbreaking film and so iconic and stylish and cool. But there was one guy who had his head screwed on straight in that entire movie, and it was fucking Cypher. It's like, oh, you live in a perfect simulation of 1999. Would you rather give it up to go live in an underground cave with a bunch of smelly hippies? No, I wouldn't. I mean, what is Neo like? What problems does he have? We meet him and he stayed up all night on his computer. Then he's gone to a nightclub. And he's turned up for work the next day, probably reeking of cheap vodka and alley sex. And his boss is just like, well, don't let it happen again. Now continue with your well-paid inner city job. Yeah. And he's like, oh.
And continue with your well-paid job and continue looking like Keanu Reeves so you can have that sweaty alley sex.
good-looking
not just your
mid-30s
well-paid
dude.
job, but your well-paid job where you're not actually doing anything. Because when they show him in the cube, his computer isn't even on. He's just sitting.
It's like you just
He's
make money for nothing. You're a good-looking man. You could just go to a nightclub. It's like beautiful people invite you out to nightclubs. You just jack around a computer all day. You just turn up and give your boss the bare minimum of human respect. And you're like, oh, there's something missing from my life. What? What is missing from your life?
And then when you find out what's missing from your life, it's right. She should be like, plug me the fuck back in.
Well, it turns out that the life you're experiencing is a perfect simulation of a life you would experience. I'll take it. That's fine.
Make me someone important. You know, like an actor. I die laughing every time I watch the movie and he says that.
It's like I laugh, but at the same time, it's like, oh, Cypher, you got a point. It's like he's eating that steak and he's saying, look, I believe I'm eating this steak. The steak tastes good. Plug me back in.
Yep. But no, you're exactly right.
I think it seems to be setting itself up to tell an interesting story, or at least like an interesting twist on the Matrix lore. It was kind of fuzzy and a little bit overblown, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not offended by the fact they're doing a new Matrix movie, and the trailer doesn't worry me.
And it's kind of funny to me that I really don't like 2 and 3. My husband loves 2 and 3. And so he watches them occasionally when I've watched the first one again for the millionth time. But I didn't like them all that much, but I don't hate them because the first one was so good that I'm willing to permit them to exist, because even if I don't love them, they're still not as bad as some sequels I've seen. And so
They're still boring as shit. And I don't for a second believe that anyone has ever watched them more than once.
No, but I love that I will permit them to exist. You've got to come on the side quest more often. That's exactly the vibe we're going on. But no, I agree with Bevan. They were fucking boring as shit. So I remember, and you know what? The first film was so groundbreaking, and the second one as well was like groundbreaking effects. But I remember watching Neo beating the shit out of like 500 Agent Smiths. And I love a good like mindless kung fu movie and a mindless. I was watching that and thinking, why am I bored now? I shouldn't be bored here.
right.
No, I think Bob has a point. Like, I think HBO Max recently got all 3 Matrix movies, and I was sitting there going, "Oh, maybe I'll sit there and watch it." Maybe like the other 2, which I haven't like seen since. Once again, I watched them once and was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I just can't bring myself to do it. I'm like, well, I might want to watch the first one and then find an excuse not to watch the other 2.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of bought into its own hype. The Matrix didn't need sequels. It was a perfect movie, but obviously, and again, this is kind of like built into the conversation we're having. They're not going to leave that alone because there's so many uncashed checks they can cash there. And I've had conversations with people. I know that there are people out there who really think that The Matrix works really well as a trilogy and really love 2 and 3. And I'm not saying you people are fucking insane and I can't relate to you on a human level. I'm just saying that I might be saying that first.
I'm saying they're lying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yeah, maybe you're lying and I don't know why you're lying to me.
It's a testament to how much I love my husband that he loves those movies and I'm still married to him. So.
Excellent. I permit them to exist. I permit my husband to still be married to me. You're very magnanimous here, Misty.
Who the hell is he trying to impress by lying about this?
I don't know. That's some like coffee shop hipster stuff right there. Let me tell you why Matrix Revolutions is a masterpiece. I did my dissertation on it.
I'll tell you who the real agents are. They're the people infiltrating the simulation to tell us that Matrix 2 and 3 were valid creative choices. That's the real conspiracy theory.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bevan's about to burst out of his garage with his sunglasses and leather trench coat. Beat the shit out of some nerds. Why are you lying about liking this movie? Oh, now that's a Matrix sequel I'd pay to see.
That should be like a waterboarding thing. It's like no, I really do like this movie. No, you don't. We'll break you of that.
I'm gonna drown you enough that you don't like any movies. Then we'll see who's lying.
We know torture
We'll
doesn't
see how long
work.
you like Highlander 2.
No, there's no such thing. Again, that whole
Yeah.
I don't permit that movie to exist. There's only one Highlander movie.
What does your husband have to say about that?
He agrees with me. He agrees that there is only one. There is only one. I mean, it says so right in the movie.
Yeah.
There can be only one.
Misty's not pointing a gun at her husband right now.
No, he's not even here.
And let's pretend that we didn't even do an ATM about Highlander 2.
Oh, one day he starts coming home late from work, starts getting suspicious, and you find out that he's just been going over to a friend's house and binge watching Highlander 2.
No.
He just comes home, you find him you turn the light on, he's been sitting in the dark, and he's like, why didn't you tell me there was a Highlander 2? And a Highlander 3. Why did you keep this from me?
It was for your own good, honey.
But Ramirez comes back.
Okay.
All right, so generally we're not impressed with the Picard trailer. Misty for solid sci-fi reasons, and Rick and I for, I think, justified spite in the tonal direction they're taking the Star Trek universe in.
And me because I didn't see it.
And you because you didn't see it, and I guess you were just a fuck Star Trek anyway guy.
No, I mean I casually watched Next Generation while I was in high school because I liked a girl who liked it, and that's the end of my story.
That's a pretty solid.
That's the end of my
from
trek.
you.
I enjoyed it, what I saw, but not enough to care.
If there was a blowjob involved in the best of both worlds, then that would have been pretty awesome.
Well, anyone who's been listening to this podcast for any length of time knows that from Bob, that's a pretty solid endorsement. Rarely does he go from "this is a piece of shit and I don't care" to "I love this, I don't care how obscure and weird it is." He lives very much in his own critical solar system, so I'll take that. TNG, I tolerated it because my girlfriend watched it. It's pretty good.
I don't hate. It wasn't my girlfriend. I never made it there, so all this Star Trek watching was a fucking waste of time.
Aww. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
But yeah, I don't hate all that Marvel bullshit you watch. I just don't care.
I'm just imagining bitter high school Bob being like, I know 50 phrases in fucking Klingon and my dick is still dry.
I mean, we've all been there, Rick.
Could there be a correlation?
In my case, it was like, I learned all this Klingon, and I haven't met a woman who likes Star Trek. Why am I still a virgin? Okay, so, all right, Picard, bullshit. Matrix, I don't know. That same kind of, hey, we need some more money, even though, we should theoretically have an inhuman amount of money vibe to it, but at least the trailer looks interesting.
Yep.
I didn't see the trailer for that either, but I don't get the feeling that Keanu Reeves, from the latest projects he's been doing, I don't get the sense that he's just in it for the paycheck. I think he likes to enjoy what he's doing, so I've got some faith there. I'm usually wrong about these things, but
it's not as if Keanu Reeves hasn't picked bad movies, but he's pretty good with his money. He's pretty passionate about the projects he gets involved in. He might just be, involved in the hype. He's like, yeah, people would like another Matrix movie. That doesn't necessarily mean he's read the script and thinks it's good. He's just a nice guy,
Hey, it might be shit. I don't know. That's my
I don't
opinion on
see
things.
him. Yeah, I don't see him ever doing an interview like Michael Caine after Jaws: The Revenge, where he's like, yeah, the movie is awful, but the house it bought is awesome.
It's more of a Nick Cage kind of thing, isn't it? Hey, Nick
Well-
Cage, we have a movie about I'm in.
Yeah, but Nick Cage has got tremendous tax problems, so I never have to question the motivations of Nick Cage. It's like Nick Cage is crazy and he keeps buying castles. That's why he appears in, whatever. And that's fine. I can understand that motivation. If I was a rich actor, I'd be crazy and buying castles and having to appear in odd, low-budget B movies now and then.
Why aren't we approaching Nick Cage for Shingles the movie, being like, dude, we got $50 cash.
Well, we'll see.
Right?
We'll see how it
man.
goes.
You could totally get it. He would sign on.
He's
He would sign on.
been in worse movies, but,
Yes.
I like to think we have some integrity.
I don't think the whole Keanu Reeves must think it's a good project is a great argument, because he seems like a really nice dude and he might just be in a movie just to make people happy.
Man, I just wanted to say something.
Well, no, it's a good point. I'm not saying it wasn't a good point. Please
Fuck
do
you!
continue to be engaged. But you just had to sit for us talking about Picard. I know you don't give a shit about that, so well done. Thank you for staying with us.
Thanks, man.
All right, now let me think of another movie project that Bevan does not give a single shit about. Actually, no, wait a minute.
I don't think that should be your
Kinda
target
give a
goal
shit.
there.
No, you're right. That would be spiteful. Speaking of remakes, or dipping into the well of stuff that everybody loves, but perhaps we should leave the fuck alone. A new Indiana Jones movie. Is anyone excited about that?
I
I
want to
didn't
be.
even know about it. I liked 1 and 3. Thought 2 was okay.
Yeah, I loved the first 3, and I thought the Crystal Skull was. I could live through with the Crystal Skull because I liked 1 through 3. But
You got some sort of kind of sentimental momentum from the first 3 allowed you to like Crystal Skull.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly it. And the only reason that I feel like a 5th one is not a good idea is because he is so much older now. And I know that Hollywood can do a lot, but I saw somebody on Twitter, I don't know, a few weeks ago was saying that they thought it would be so much cooler if Harrison Ford played the crotchety old museum guy.
Yeah.
And then then an actor playing Short Round could come in and be the Indiana Jones adventure guy.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. It's either at this point the guy's very old and you're going to have to film around that. Same with Picard. It was like the guy can't even he can't even talk like Picard anymore because he's
No.
old and tired, and that's fine. People get old. I remember like the Captain Marvel movie, and it's like, oh, he spent all this money making Samuel L. Jackson look like he's 30 again. It's like, yeah, but he don't move like a 30-year-old, and I can see that. Every time he tries to run, I'm like, oh, that is an old man they got to do that. Leave him alone. Let him rest. Get someone else to do it.
Exactly.
Well, they could go super sad with it, like Logan.
Yeah.
Oh, that was crushing.
Yeah, but who wants to watch a super sad Indiana Jones?
Oh, no, I was talking about Picard.
Well,
But
no,
they've
no,
already had a
I-
season,
yeah,
so I guess
yeah.
they made a decision there. But I don't know. No, I don't want to see sad.
It was sad enough we had to see Shia LaBeouf in the 4th one.
Mm.
But like the whole point of the first 3 Indiana Jones is you have a guy who's like, he's not. I mean, Harrison Ford was exactly 20 or so, but I mean, you have a guy who's like in his prime, maybe a little bit past it, who's like, who's going on these adventures and stuff. That's kind of like the thrill. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. I didn't like Crystal Skull for a whole ton of reasons.
Right.
A whole ton of reasons.
Mm.
And I'm not going to go into that, but first of all, it was like, this is kind of uncomfortable watching watching old Indiana Jones do stuff.
Yeah, trying to be.
And
Yeah,
and now it's gonna be twice as uncomfortable.
Yeah, I totally forgot. In the first movie, he was complaining about like aches and pains and stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
he was like he's like a history professor. Like, oh, now I've got to go on an adventure. Oh, get a little bit too old
That
for
was
this.
40 fucking years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
then like number 3 is like, oh, now I've got my crotchety old dad. Then number 4 is like, oh, I am twice as old as my dad was in the last movie. This
And
is painful for
the
everyone.
thing. 80-year-olds can have adventures, but not
Those
running,
kind of
jumping
adventures.
over
Yeah.
crevasses
Yeah.
and swinging from vines and driving jeeps way too fast. That's not the kind of adventure that you want to see an 80-year-old having.
Yeah. And
Holy
and
shit.
also, look,
Guys,
I mean,
whoa,
between-
whoa.
Oh.
Got something here. I don't know if this was in the trailer or not, but all right, so the first Indiana Jones movie was set in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
which was about 40 years from when it was filmed. Like, will this one be set in the 80s?
Well, everything else is set in the
Bum,
fucking
bum,
80s.
bum.
Indiana Jones and the I don't know, stock market boom and a quiet retirement. I don't know.
God, I want to see Indiana Jones in a red Thriller jacket. You know?
with the sparkly glove.
The villain is Dexty's Midnight Runners.
He just looks at the camera at the final fight, and he's like, take on me? No, take me on.
He'd have to do the safety dance to get past all the traps, you know.
He's a man with a hat. Come on, let's give him some credit. But here's the
Good
thing.
point.
A lot of the things in the 80s that we really enjoyed were rehashes of stuff that had come before it. So this is quite relevant to what we're talking about inadvisable remakes or inadvisable reimaginings, because Indiana Jones was a rehash of Jungle Adventures from 20 years before it, with a kind of ironic, inflated air to it, which made its own genre. Same with Star Wars. It's like that was just an amalgamation of World War II films, samurai films, hot rod films that had come along in the 60s when these guys were growing up. But
Sure.
so Indiana Jones kind of has to exist in the time period he existed in. We can't have an 80s Indiana Jones. It just doesn't fucking work.
Bullshit.
If we decided to make here's another adventure of Indiana Jones in the 50s, where it was already starting to lose its comfort zone,
Right.
we still have to deal with the fact that Harrison Ford is an old man. And so maybe you get somebody else and you use technology to make him look like Harrison Ford, or maybe you just get a different actor. They tried that with the Solo movie. The guy they got to play him he embodied a lot of
Yeah, he
Whitefoot
wasn't bad.
Pencil. He was bad. It wasn't a particularly well written, directed, or envisioned movie. It was more a bad movie than a bad acting choice. You can get a young, fresh actor to do a Harrison Ford impression, but that's not what they're going to do. The next movie is going to be, well, it's X amount of years on from the Crystal Skull, where Harrison Ford was very uncomfortable moving around at pace.
And they had to halt filming for a while because he injured himself.
Well, of course he injured himself.
You know?
He probably stood
Yeah.
up too fast.
Right, exactly. Because he's 80 million years old.
Yeah, and I'm not fault of the guy. I'm nowhere near that old, and I'm probably gonna injure myself going to sleep tonight. So
He probably broke his arm, flipping off some Star Wars fans who mentioned Han Solo.
I'm not saying he hasn't got the attitude to do the part. I'm just saying, the guy's too old to do it convincingly. But
Yes.
what I am worried about is that maybe they're just gonna they're gonna have him capering around in the background with his walker so they can put some, I hear Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and I do get the impression it's going to be another, well, what we really need is a female Indiana Jones. So fuck you,
Huh.
Harrison Ford. Even though we've already got a female Indiana Jones. Her name's Lara Croft. She's doing very well for
Say, isn't
herself.
that Lara Croft?
Yeah. She's in.
She's doing very well for herself, except for the fact that they somehow cannot seem to make a good Lara Croft movie.
But they have made a lot of Lara Croft properties, maybe more than there were Indiana Jones properties. And here's the thing: if we keep on making Indiana Jones movies, it's very going to quickly get to the stage where there are more bad Indiana Jones movies than there are good Indiana Jones movies, which is kind of what's happened with Star Wars, if you count the Ewok movies. So,
Yeah.
No, you know what's going to happen? They're going to keep making Indiana Jones movies, and then we're going to hit that point where it's like, hey, it's Indiana Jones 8. Oh, he kind of died of old age in the middle of filming. Okay, so the rest of the movie, so we'll just do creative filming and shoot him and shoot somebody in an Indiana Jones hat from behind for the scenes that were unfinished.
That's why I feel like they would have been better served to take his character, let him be Indiana Jones, but let him be the guy that stays behind in the museum or at the university.
Yeah.
And he's got a new, younger protege. And it would have been fabulous to have it be Short Round, because that would fall right in with the mythology. But they didn't even have to do that. They could have had somebody else. But making him do
Short
the
Round's gotta be
stunts and
50, huh?
adventures.
Huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's still
Yeah,
bad
but,
at
but
80.
the character of like short round, but also that would have been like, because that would have like been like, okay, yeah, hey, I'm a mentor and stuff. Let's put the
Right.
focus on like on an Asian actor. So
See?
that would have been perfectly fine.
Or like Sean Connery in the third movie, Indiana Jones could be the guy that gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It has to be
but
safe.
then they gotta bring Shia LaBeouf back.
Oh no, let's
Yeah,
All
no.
right.
No.
That's, Hollywood casting. Who's big right now? Shia LaBeouf. Okay, let's put him in fucking everything. Yeah, it didn't work out very well. But, you said the raise the point of an Asian actor, and that's inclusivity and changing social attitudes is kind of a massive thing we're going through with content creation right now, which leads me to the kind of opinions like, should we even be bringing back these characters as new characters? Because when you think about it, a good example, the new James Bond movie, everyone's saying it's like, well, James Bond's in it, but a new 007 is a woman. So take that, James Bond. And I think, like, if your attitude is take that, James Bond, why are you making a James Bond movie? Maybe just leave him back in the past.
Right.
Yeah, there's that whole concept of contempt again.
Yeah.
Where it's like at that point you're pretty much just milking something for the money that you pretty much despise.
Well, yeah, I hate to bring up Ghostbusters 2016 again. I'm kidding. I love to bring it up. I'll keep on bringing it up. It's like picking a really satisfying scab.
Well, this was happening.
Yeah. But, there's like Ghostbusters 2016. Oh, take that, Ghostbusters. We showed the Ghostbusters logo in the dick where its masculinity lives. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You absolute psychopath. That's not what...
Yeah.
After we spent 20 painstaking minutes explaining how that logo came to be.
So we paid so much money to use this logo. Now we're going to shoot in the dick. Take that, patriarchy. Like, maybe just leave the movie back in the 80s if you feel that strongly about it. I don't know.
Right.
And I guess it's say definitely with James Bond. It's like, if the guy's a dinosaur. I mean, I remember watching Dirty Harry movies from like the early 80s where Dirty Harry's like, Dirty Harry, you maverick renegade, we're going to part you up with a woman. And he's like, oh, woman. Oh, well, I'm still going to shoot a load of guys, but I guess I'll learn some fucking progressive messages. That was like in the early 80s when I was born. So it's not as if this is a brave and stunning creative choice. I think now maybe it's kind of like, if you don't like the people that you're making the movie for, maybe just don't fucking do it. Just, like Indiana Jones, maybe he doesn't work for a modern audience. So maybe just let Harrison Ford sit down. Let James Bond die.
Well, that's also the thing. Is like, they want to put slap these names because like, oh, this has an established audience. But there's a reason people are fans of certain things. So when you like take something and just treat it with tons of contempt along the lines of, yeah, we're calling this something, but we really hate it.
I don't know if
the fans, the fans are not really going to come rushing to you. I mean, you'll probably get some residual, but after that, the fans are pretty much just going to just hate the shit out of it.
It's because
out of you for it.
so much of Hollywood doesn't understand the love that fans have versus the money that we'll spend, because those are two different things. We can love something and not spend money on it because they've made it with that sense of contempt that you're talking about, Rick. And they don't seem all they seem to look at it with is dollar signs. You know, they don't see that there's something to it that we love that's not just the money.
Yeah, I remember when 1990, like 1996, 97, when they were doing that when they were doing the TriStar Godzilla movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it pretty much, everything about it pretty much wound up being, okay, well, we're doing the opposite of what Godzilla is.
Right.
And then they were surprised when the fan base was like, this is not really what we want.
Right.
And then the movie didn't make nearly as much money. And it's like, well, guess what? When you take something that people love for reasons A, B, C, and you pretty much shit on those, there's a cause and effect there.
Right.
Well, Misty, your opinion there was, I think, appropriately cynical, but I'm going to take it a little bit further. I think they're actively courting this shit now. I think it's a case of, you know what, we're going to take this stuff that is well established and everyone loved, but happened 30 years ago, so obviously doesn't live up to the moral and cultural expectations of today's audience. And then we're just going to sacrifice it on an altar, and it's going to create controversy, and people are going to watch it. I think that's just what they're doing. I think that's kind of what Ghostbusters is like. It's like, oh yeah, Ghostbusters, everyone loved that. But what we're going to do is we're going to spend 90 minutes shitting on it. And
well, Steve, how many times have you seen Ghostbusters 2016?
Maybe 3 times more than I should have, for professional reasons.
Exactly. Well, there you go.
I saw it once, and then I thought, maybe I'll, I have a daughter, so I was like, is this as empowering as everybody says it is? I should force my daughter to watch this. So I got drunk and put it on. My daughter did not give a shit about that movie at all. And
girl.
The third time I watched it was for the podcast, purely because you guys wanted to, I don't know, ruin my day, I guess, for content reasons.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a lot of hate watching that made them money.
Yeah. Well, no, I think
it probably was.
It just put the Ghostbusters logo back in the atmosphere, but I think it was just kind of maybe the whole, a bit of controversy. Those original fans, we're putting them back in the basement where they belong, and we're doing something different.
Oh, that's the thing. We're going back to the Ghostbusters franchise. Speaking of which, because there's been a couple trailers already for Ghostbusters Afterlife,
and that's the one with the children, right?
Yeah,
that's the one that doesn't seem to be sure whether it's Ant-Man or Stranger Things.
I'm tentatively looking forward to that.
Yes, so. You know what? I'm going to put this again. I saw somebody on Twitter said, you all complained about the woman Ghostbusters, and now look what you've got. The kid Ghostbusters. But here's the thing. Ghostbusters, when it came out, was one of the greatest comedy scripts ever written for a movie. But most comedies aren't just flat-out comedies. Most comedies are like Lethal Weapon's a great comedy. Most of the Marvel movies are great comedies. Ghostbusters was also a science fiction fantasy. And as a science fiction fantasy, it worked really well. So there are 2 aspects of the Ghostbusters script. You can enjoy it as a really good comedy, classic, or you can enjoy it as I did when I was like 10 years old and watching it as, wow, these guys are fighting ghosts. These guys who look like my dad are fighting ghosts. It's this great, it inspired a sense of wonder. And the first kind of, the Ghostbusters 2016 was like, hey, we're taking this zany comedy and we're going to make a zany comedy. But in the 30 years since then, we've forgotten how to make comedies.
Well, no, you're right. Because I've often told people that if you take Ghostbusters, the story, and you put it with different characters, you could easily have a very effective horror movie.
Yeah.
It works as a story.
Yeah, the wonder that was inspired, the kind of paranormal adventure of Ghostbusters, seems to be what the new Ghostbusters is gunning for. So it's got kids in it, and it's got Paul Rudd in it, who's a wonderfully likable figure that everyone likes. And it seems like they're going the exact opposite way from Ghostbusters 2016, which, I'm not going to fault them. That's it. I want to go the opposite way of Ghostbusters 2016. Who doesn't?
Everybody should.
Well done, Misty. We need to get you back on the side quest more often.
Well, see, I could go on about Kristen Wiig in anything right now, because everything she's in, I won't watch. I can't bear her at all. But
I would say more importantly, Ghostbusters Afterlife. It almost disturbingly feels like when we did that Ghostbusters 16 tear apart, the movie that we came up with that were like, if we did it this way instead, it would be so much better.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Ghostbusters 2016 was like, oh, you remember Ghostbusters? Well, here's our brand new take on it. But Ghostbusters Afterlife seems like, you remember Ghostbusters? Oh man, that was nice. Let's dip back into that warm bath. And I'm not saying that,
Yes.
Nostalgia's always the best way to go. I mean, like, it can be overdone. I mean, we all loved it when Stranger Things took us back to the 80s for a bit. And I'm not saying it's going to be a great film. I'm not going to say they've made the correct choices or that nostalgia is any lazier than whatever 2016 Ghostbusters was trying to do, just getting, I don't know, failed SNL comedians to do their shtick on it. I don't know. But I'm a little bit more hopeful about this, because at least it seems to be in love with the concept of Ghostbusters rather than shitting
yeah, there's
on
respect there.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
definite respect there, even in the trailer.
Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to tell a story, not just be wacky.
Yeah, which is how I feel
Right.
about the new Matrix trailer as well. There seems to be respect there.
Yes.
So I don't feel too bad about that. Whereas the Picard trailer, I don't know. I don't even know if these people watch The Next Generation. I think maybe they watched that the Borg movie, which was like an action zombie movie.
Oh yeah, because isn't the Borg Queen in the trailer too? For
Yeah.
a minute and a half. Okay.
That's the thing. The Star Trek Next Generation movies were like, okay, they're Star Trek fans and they're normal people. We're going to make this for the normal people. And I get the feeling that's what Picard have done. They're sort of like, hey, you guys ever watch Star Trek with Picard in it? And they're like, yeah, I saw 2 of those movies. I don't know. I told myself I wasn't going to go back to Picard, but I've gone right back to Picard. Sorry.
It's a tough one to get off, because the whole thing about Star Trek is supposed to be the future is hopeful, and Picard seems to be about, no, the future sucks.
Right.
Yeah. And even then when they open it was like, well, Picard, all this time you spent trekking between the stars, I always thought, was it because you were an explorer, or was it because you were running away from something? It's because he was a fucking explorer. Watch the fucking series. He's the consummate explorer. He's an optimist.
He was paid.
It wasn't like, the Incredible Hulk, the series in outer space, I have a deep dark secret, so I must go from star system to star
He
system.
never just went, number one, come in here a minute. I need to talk to you. Number one, I fucking hate exploring. I never wanted to be a starship captain. I always
I
wanted
want
to
to
be
be a lumberjack.
Now, I'm not saying that had they recruited me to write a Star Wars TNG episode, I'm not saying that's not the episode I would have written. But I am saying that people like me shouldn't be put in charge of beloved franchises.
Yeah, but here's the thing. At least you know why the franchise is beloved. So knowing that and understanding that kind of gives you a leg up on whatever it seems that we're being fed here, because that's what I've gotten from even Discovery too. Discovery tried after the first season. I think they got enough backlash. They were like, oh, maybe we need to actually Star Trek this up a bit. But the first season of Picard, I so wanted to enjoy it for that nostalgia, for returning to this world. that like, I was growing up with. And it just seemed like it was like, okay, we have characters, we have names, we have settings, and we have no idea why these are important to you. So we're just going to throw them out there and set it all on fire and see what your reaction is.
Right.
Like, maybe I should give later Discovery episodes a go, because the first season just put me off. It was just like, everyone's a fucking dick. It's all just, there's no cleverness in this at all. It feels dumb. Nobody's trying to diplomatically solve anything. It's all just kind of like, hey, we're having adventures now, and somebody's going to make a sarcastic comic, and someone's going to, I fucking love science, because we don't normally swear in Star Trek. And
it feels like they got more on track in the second season. And I don't know what the latest season was, 3 or 4, but then it feels like they fell off track again.
Well, speaking of them trying to get back on track, I've noticed they're doing another Star Trek series, Strange New Worlds. And that's a prequel. It's got Captain Pike in it. It's pre-Kirkian. It's got Uhura in it. It's got Spock in it. And it already seems a little bit more chipper and optimistic and light. But so, maybe they have figured out that the people who like Star Trek like Star Trek.
But at the same time, the fact that it is a prequel and it's got Spock in it, and it's got Uhura in it, it just feels to me like you're a bunch of lazy shits who couldn't come up with anything new.
Yeah, why not set just be like, hey, here's a new Star Trek series set after TNG, maybe set in the same world as Picard, and they know bad things are going on, but something, they're still here to explore.
I'm not even going to say like writers I know, because I know a lot of good writers. You may have heard of some of them on this podcast. I'm just going to say, like, maybe fucking any writer, if you say to them, we're going to give you Spock and Uhura and all these set-up characters and all this set-up universe and world, here, write a series. I say that's probably not a fantastic feat. That's maybe
I would
kind of...
panic. Because these are characters that I grew up knowing that somebody else already created. How can I add to that?
Well, you panic because you give a shit. But right. I think most people would be like, all right, okay, we could sell some fucking merch here. Let's do this.
And there's where it comes to every time.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it feels like. It's kind of like, well, Pike is sort of like Kirk. They had him there before they actually fired the guy and brought in William Shatner. So maybe let's talk about the adventures they had, which were just as awesome as Kirk's adventures. Yeah. And we'll throw in Spock and and a couple other familiar faces. Yeah, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I'll watch it because I do like that stuff. But at the same time, it's also kind of like, really, do we have to do? It's how many prequels do we really need in the fucking Star Trek universe?
You've got all this talent and creativity and money. Just make another Star Trek. Make the one after DS9. Just keep on going forward. Do something new. I would respect that more. But, I might give
Strange New Worlds a go.
I'm definitely not giving Picard Season 2 a go, because Picard Season 1 was such a fuck storm of stupid dialogue delivered by a man who should know better. Crap characters, just crap. Betrayals of what the Star Trek universe was actually ever supposed to be. And pseudoscience that, I know that Star Trek is all pseudoscience, but there's a limit, there's a level. And Picard stepped way over that. And all this just kind of ridiculous action and hyper-violence and snarling one-liners while you disintegrate people. It's like, that is not fucking Star Trek. And
no.
You can raise the conversation if you want about gatekeepers in our sad, flooded basements filled with corpses. But I don't know.
Well, you mentioned Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was that was meant to be kind of the gritty side of Star Trek, and it was a good. Deep Space Nine was I love the shit out of Deep Space Nine, but I also was kind of like this. It got gritty at times, but that's probably about as gritty as I want my Star Trek to get.
It wasn't that tonally alien from TNG. Yeah. You could marry the two up in your mind quite easily. Okay, Deep Space Nine is on the outskirts of the Federation. It's a kind of this pilgrim western town. it's a little bit different, but not alien or untranslatable. First season of Discovery, I was like, what the fuck is this? This isn't Star Trek. And there were so many people going like, finally. And that's what I don't trust about this. This kind of like, oh, finally, James Bond is being supplanted by a woman. You know, oh, finally, Picard is talking like Bill and Ted. It's like, what do you mean, finally? Did you like the original properties, or were you just waiting for the original properties to suit your mood? And if it's the latter, then maybe go fuck yourself. Maybe the gatekeepers have got a point here.
I was hanging on so hard for Idris Elba to be the next Bond that pretty much anybody they chose is disappointed.
I don't know. I think I found him in his iconic role in Suicide Squad. Actually, I fucking loved him in that.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I'm dying to.
Oh, his character is a cheap replacement for Will Smith's character, which has all sorts of problematic aspects to it. But you really just ride very easily through that movie, as does most of the cast. To be honest, it's But I'm talking now about movies I like.
We can't do that.
That's not what this podcast is about.
So Bob, tell us about the Pirates of the Caribbean's sequels.
I'll tell you about the first sequel, because that's the only one I bothered to see, because I saw that one. It was a piece of shit.
It's so sad that you're wrong.
Oh, come on, you don't like like Davy Jones's little octopus face?
Right?
No, that pissed me off. That was all part of it. Like, all right, you've got him and his whole crew. They've got like sea-themed faces. Is that how curses work? They go with themes. Like, I can understand if they turn into fish or something, but no, that irked me, and just how every set piece like was designed so that there could be like a stupidly intricate fight on it, and I don't know, everything got my goat, and I had my own ideas about where the series was going after the first movie, and I was sorely disappointed, and I can't fault anyone for that. They can't read my mind, my better mind.
Yeah.
But it's no, that whole fish face thing, that pissed me off. That's a lot of what tore me away.
Oh,
because I really liked the first movie.
We've been talking here about how successful franchises have been dug up and repurposed for people who seemingly just don't fucking understand the appeal of the original, or don't care because they've got their eyes on the prize. But you're like, you fucked this on the second installment. That's a lot more unforgiving.
Clearly I'm outnumbered here, but this is and Rick says, earlier in the chat we were talking about it, and Rick says you're going to judge all the sequels on the second one, and by the way, I like the second one, and go on. Yeah, I saw the trailers for the 8th one or whatever, where there's like 6,000 Jack Sparrows, and that didn't look like anything I wanted to see. And no, you said Davy Jones was a great villain. No, Captain Barbossa was a great villain.
Oh,
Davy
Jones was a piece of shit.
Barbossa was great, and it did
dangly tentacle shit on his face.
But I do have to say, as much as I thought like the second one had great parts to it, it was a very oddly paced movie. And the third one suffered from the same sort of thing. It had lots of like really cool setups in it, but it never felt like they'd planned it to be a trilogy, and they were just. And then after the third one, it was just like, okay, we just need to put wacky Johnny Depp in some vaguely entertaining situations.
Yeah, after the first one, they got increasingly stuck in, instead of telling a good story, we're just gonna go back to the things that got us audience hits from the first one, like. Even in the second one, it was like, okay, how many times are we going to have the "why is the rum is gone" joke?
Yeah.
Right.
It was kind of cute in the first one, but we don't need to relive that that kind of nostalgia since the first one came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, again, I can't fault anyone for not reading my mind, but I want to get this out. This is where I thought it was going to go. I thought the second movie was, I thought Bootstrap Bill was going to be the villain because they tossed him overboard. But I was thinking about this in the first movie. Like, man, that guy, he was cursed. They tied a ball and chain to his leg and tossed him over the ocean. He's been hanging out down there for years, like undead and pissed off. And sooner or later he's gonna be able to find a way to corrode that shit and get free. And but no, yeah, he was in the movie, but he was just like some sniveling little shit. And then
Well, and you kind of wonder why didn't something down there eat him, because there he is, chained to the cannon, and he's lunch essentially. Why did some big fish not go delicious and take a bite?
well,
Why does he still
that's
have all his
the
parts?
curse. He can't die.
Yeah, but he could have lost parts. Why does he still have both
All right.
arms? Why does he still have both legs?
He could have been just shat out by a fish.
Yeah. So
It's like, I was
that
down
was
there
the
for
question.
years, and then a whale came and ate me, and then he shat me out, and then another whale ate me and shat me out.
Well,
You know how many times I've been shat out?
But instead of them having like fish theme, they're all just made of shit.
None of the characters are missing parts.
No,
maybe
there's
shit
maybe
full
the
of
parts
shit
come.
monsters.
Maybe the parts come back together after they're separated, and that's part of the curse. That could have been how he got out. A big shark could have bitten him off at the leg, and all right, well, I'm out of my manacles now, and as soon as the shark shits me out, then my parts are going to come back together.
Every
You
time
best
I
be
close-
believing in shitstorms. You're in one.
You're in one.
Every time I close my eyes, I see nothing but the inside of digestional tracts.
Of the four movies, I know there's five, but I just
Oh,
don't even
let's-
want to
let's
talk about
pretend.
five. But of the four movies,
Sorry,
that I know
there's
really
one.
well. The fourth one made me crazy because they bought the rights to one of my very favorite novels called On Stranger Tides by Tim Powers. I love that book. It's a fantastic pirate book. One of my favorite books of all time. And so they bought the rights, and you would think that there would be something in that movie that came from the book other than the title.
Misty. Oh, Misty.
Still, I know,
You
I'm
know
such an
better than
innocent.
this.
I know.
We are Disney. We know more about storytelling than you.
Yeah, you talk about contempt. There was some serious contempt. And I'm really glad that Tim got the money for the option and everything, but just a little bit, because the story's great, and they used Blackbeard, and that was it. But they didn't even use him the way Tim uses him in the book. So I was
I'm pretty sure
Well, and they used
Blackbeard is
the-
public domain.
yeah,
It's a
and they used the
historical
Fountain
figure.
of Youth, but they didn't use it the way Tim did. So, and the mermaids. I'm sorry, just that was such
Yeah.
a terrible thing.
Yeah, I like the second one, but I will say they went way downhill after that, because the third one was not good.
Yeah.
The fourth one was worse. And the fifth one, I was like, okay, there are some parts of it I kind of like, but most of it I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember it. I've watched it once.
I didn't realize there were any after
and-
3.
Yeah, there are 5.
It's fine. You
There
don't
are
have
five.
to realize that. You know what? I think the watchword we've come across here quite a lot that separates from what we have hope about and what we don't have hope about is a sense of contempt. I think that maybe we've landed on something here, that maybe there is something to be said for somebody who understands why people like the original one and doesn't just say, fuck them basement dwellers. I don't know. I think I may be coming down on the side of the incels here. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, you know what it is? There are
In this
certain
respect.
directors out there. You get that fanboy vibe from it, where they seem to understand this stuff. Like you very seldom see a movie that shits on the fans from a Sam Raimi or a Guillermo del Toro or let's say a James Gunn. These seem
That's
to be
true.
guys who I don't know if they're fans themselves, but they seem to at least understand why fans like the movies.
Yeah, and they never
Yes.
get to the stage where they're like, oh, well, it didn't land correctly. Well, I guess it's just the fault of those gatekeeping fans.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the gatekeeping fans are the reason you took this property on. Let's not kid ourselves here. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think I might just drop out of society and polish up my rifle.
Jesus.
That's just what happens to you when you become one of the basement dwellers.
Well, that took a nosedive quickly.
Well, that's where we fucking are, Rick. Everyone who doesn't hop on board with popular thinking is a potentially dangerous terrorist. I've been on Twitter. I know how this works.
I was just going to say that if any of these producers want to ask me, I'm good. Ask me, call me. I've got ideas. I can help you. Because I sit and watch these movies all the time and go, if they'd done this instead of that.
Yeah.
And do they ever call me and ask? No.
That's what annoys me, yeah. Because there are so many kind of like, you say, oh, why do they keep on rehashing the same old shit? It's like, oh, there are just no new ideas out there. I could reach out to people on my email list and get you a whole fucking trove of new ideas.
I will just offer this as like a counterpoint, because I definitely want to say things like, like I'm not going to say I'm going to make a good movie, but I could have made a better movie than 1997 Godzilla. But let's not forget that the reason I think Maximum Overdrive exists is because Stephen King was basically saying, I could do better than these directors who keep making fucking shitty adaptations of my movies. So it doesn't always work out.
You know what, Rick? The proper response isn't to say that and then do an entire bag of cocaine. I don't mean like a baggie. I mean like a shopping bag. And then go, I'm Stephen King. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to make Maximum Overdrive. I mean, the first half of that sentence wasn't the problem. It was everything after that.
I'm just saying that, and apparently Roger, the same can be said of Roger Ebert, because I think he directed something like Return to the Valley of the Dolls or something, which is an awful movie out there. So
Yes.
there is something to be said about we all think we can armchair direct, but it is a very difficult job to do correctly.
That's
At
true.
the same time, though, once again, there is something to be said about, we put one of us in the helm and we might make an awful movie, but I like to think that awful movie at least will have some heart to it.
I just want to be an advisor, maybe a producer credit.
Yeah.
I don't need to direct.
I think heart's important. Heart and
Are we doing a
heart's
Shingles plug right now?
Yeah, well, in a very subtle way, I thought.
All right. I don't think we should be as subtle as we are. As long as we're talking about awful movies with heart and, projects that we might not have any business getting into, then be part of this.
Yeah. If you want to see us put our horrible money where our horrible mouth is, then please do donate to the Indiegogo Shingles the movie. Well, we will endeavor to utilize other indie creators to create an entirely unique and terrible concept and bring it to the world of cinema. Will we do better than the contemptuous people who buy up billion-dollar properties and then just give it to their slow nephew to write? Who knows? I don't know. You decide, listener.
You know what I would say? For those of you who think we're talking out of our ass, contribute to Shingles the movie on Indiegogo. So later on you can come up to us at the next A&D Con and say, I told you so.
Yeah, prove us wrong.
Yeah, because what's more satisfying than that?
Nothing, Misty. We really do need to have you back on a side quest again.
I'll say what's more satisfying: the fact that they bought a ticket to A&D Con to tell us this. Fuck you.
Yep. I can go with that.
I would 100% respect anybody who goes that far to tell us to go fuck ourselves.
Just bought a ticket, booked a hotel room. Just say, this is bullshit and so will you guys. I'm out. Bye-bye. Double middle fingers. Respect. That's integrity. That's what we're looking for.
I flew halfway across the world just to tell you, you suck.
And on that,
I admire that.
and on that encouraging note, this has been a side quest with Misty Massey as.
Whoa! Hold on, we still haven't talked about the main issue here.
What's the main issue?
Teen Wolf 2.
Which is?
What? How is Teen Wolf 2 a main issue in any dimension?
All right, I know a lot of our fans are interested in Bevan lore, and and those long time loyal listeners know that the first time I felt the first time I regretted paying to see a movie was Problem Child.
Problem Child.
It was the first time I couldn't delude myself into thinking, "Oh, this is I am enjoying this because I paid money for it." But the first time I felt like the cynical sting of, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit," was Teen Wolf 2. Because even at the early age of however the hell old I was at the time, I saw that it was like a play-by-play remake of Teen Wolf 1 with just a different actor and a different sport. And it pissed me off.
You're absolutely right. That was back in the day of like, that worked. Let's do it again almost exactly.
But with a cheaper actor.
Yeah, with a cheaper actor. Somebody who hasn't moved on. Back when agents used to actually read the scripts before they gave them to the actors. Michael J. Fox, he made a solid move by moving on from that franchise when he did.
Yeah.
Now that we got that out of the way.
Well, I'm glad you got it off your chest.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this in the chat. You guys thought you were going to get away from this, but no.
Yeah.
I'm giving the people what they want.
I thought we could just quietly ignore it and move on. From Teen Wolf 2. No one's making a Teen Wolf 3. No one's making a Teen Wolf 2 Part 2.
Actually, there was a Teen Wolf the series.
Oh, yeah, there was. That's true. Jesus Christ.
Was it one of those teen angst channels?
No, I think it was on MTV.
Oh, okay. Well,
they already had Big Wolf on campus. Didn't need it, but there you go. Well, this has been enlightening. I'm glad we're not entirely alone in our spite and mistrust of the creative process going on behind these seemingly baffling remake decisions, or somewhat intriguing in some cases. But who can tell which is which? Will it be another Pirates of the Caribbean 3 or another Teen Wolf 2? We can but hope that I don't know, I guess somebody loses their job and has a miserable existence. I can say that as punching up. Nobody's giving me a movie deal. Fuck you guys.
It never seems to work like that in Hollywood. You often hear things like, oh, and this person who wrote this, horrible failed thing is now writing this thing, which is probably going to be a horrible failure.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you pissed off a lot of people and you lost us a lot of money. But on the other hand, you are my nephew. So here you go. Here's another beloved franchise.
Speaking of Nick Cage. Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
It's okay. He can't find us. Hopefully. Okay, it's been another side quest. Bevan, you going to interrupt with any other beefs you want to settle? Are we ready to?
I think you know the answer to that. Off? I mean, did I mention anything I wanted to talk about in the chat earlier that you ignored?
I don't know, because I probably would have ignored
it. Well, you did.
Donate the Shingles the movie.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Do that.
One last beef. Yeah, if you agreed with us on anything slightly that we said today, then donate to Shingles the Movie at Indiegogo.com.
Even if you didn't agree with anything, donate.
No, it's just got to say, if you think we're full of shit, you want us to put our money where our mouth is, then also donate to Shingles the Movie at Indiegogo.com before October 8th.
That'll show us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Show us. We'll make that movie and you won't like it. And then you can make your own podcast and tell us it was bad. And then we will feel terrible about that.
Oh, yes.
But in the meantime, we'll see you. We'll see you for the next episode of Orphans and Dragons.
If the price is right.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Misty. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, friends.